So, in the first part of my video series, I discussed how committees work, and this part will look at how things go from there. Well, what about bills not written by members of Congress? Mostly bills are written by members of Congress, but some aren't. Bills can be given to the Speaker of the House by heads of independent agencies, which could include the EPA, for example, members of the Cabinet. This could include the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, and all the other such people in the Cabinet, or it could be the President himself. These bills are then referred to the appropriate committee, and the chairman or ranking member of the committee officially introduces the bill. So the chairman is the highest ranking member in the committee, and they're from the majority party. So, for example, if one party controls the house, and in a specific committee, the highest ranking member of that party would be the uh, chairman of the committee, and then the highest ranking member of the other party would be the ranking member. So, for example, if Democrats control the House and we have a certain committee, the highest ranking Democrat there would be the chairman of the committee, the highest ranking Republican will be the ranking member. But yeah, anyway, so this is also the way the president gives a proposed budget to Congress every year. Now let's discuss what goes on the House floor. And so in the House of Representatives, the majority party leadership, which includes the Speaker of the House and the House Majority Leader, they decide which bills are considered and in which order. Specific rules are determined case by case by the House Rules Committee. A suspension of the rules procedure is typically implemented, and what this does is this limits debate to 40 minutes and it doesn't allow any more amendments. But what this requires is a two-thirds supermajority. So the House has 435 members, and two-thirds of those people, or two-thirds of voting members, would need to support this. And most bills don't get this much support. And for bills that don't get that much support, rules are generated case by case. Special rules are used. They're generated case by case, but they're reported by the House Rules Committee, and that does work with the majority party leadership. And these limit debate and amendments. Special rules can ban all amendments or allow only certain amendments to be proposed. So, for example, depending on what special rule the House Rules Committee decides on, it could not allow any more amendments, or it could give a list of amendments and say any proposed amendment would need to be one of those. And other limits, unless the House Rules Committee doesn't want them, they can also place limitations on amendments that may be offered to avoid unrelated amendments. So that what that means is it could place limitations so that only related amendments. So, for example, if we're talking about a bill about taxes, no one can add something about the environment. So it all needs to be related, and you could do that. And the special rule is adopted in each case, and enough representatives must vote for it. And following a passage of a special rule, the House becomes a committee of the whole, and amendments are offered and voted on with a simple majority required. So anyone can introduce any amendment if the special rule allows it, and it gets voted on. And the members then all rise and propose and vote on even more amendments by voice vote. So like members are called on and vote yes or no or present, and then there's a debate, and finally a vote uh, on a motion to recommit. Bills are recommitted and then sent back to committee. So amendments are added, special rules are passed, and amendments are added. Then a motion to recommit. And what goes on in the Senate? In the Senate, there's a motion to proceed, and this requires majority support. So the Senate has 100 members. So this would basically mean 51 senators usually, and this determines which bills are given consideration. So what happens is a senator, usually the majority leader, um, makes a motion to proceed, and a majority need to vote in favor. So unanimous consent can also be used to put a bill onto the Senate floor, and this works if no senator objects. So if the majority does not ask for unanimous consent, that's because he knows the senator will object. So you could ask for unanimous consent, but if anyone objects to that, then it doesn't work. So if the majority leader knows that there's going to be at least one person objects, they would not ask for unanimous consent, and they would ask for a regular motion to proceed. And if one particular senator is able to stop unanimous consent, that senator has put a hold on the bill. But okay, once it's on the floor, a bill amendments can be offered to the bill. There are few limits to debate in the Senate, and what this means is that it can take a long time for a final vote, and filibustering can happen very easily. The senators purposely and deliberately postpone and they procrastinate and they just push time out by debating for very long, and all this does is delay the passage of the bill. And um, there's a lack of restriction amendments and amendments that are not at all relevant. So that's not germane. Relevant amendments are called germane amendments. They can be proposed. So, for example, like going back to the earlier example, if you have a bill about the budget, someone could try to add an amendment about the environment or like anything. They can uh, ask for an amendment on something completely unrelated. And Senate Rule 22 is called the cloture rule. And this is one of the only ways you can really uh, fight the filibuster. So it requires a three-fifths vote, and what that does is it limits debate on bills, amendments, or motions. Three-fifths would mean about 60 senators, maybe unless there are vacancies. But uh, this begins with a so how do you start with a cloture rule? First, you need a cloture motion, and it needs 16 senators to sign on. Um, that would be about a sixth of other senators, but you need 16 senators to sign on to the cloture motion. And 48 hours later, that's 2 days later, a vote is held, and debate is and if it passes with three-fifths of the votes, bill is the argument is limited to 30 more hours. That's the debate, and only germane amendments that have already been stated can be offered, and after that, a final vote is held. So, basically you can usually filibuster and delay the bill's passing if you don't support the bill. You can just keep on delaying with filibustering, but you can also use Senate Rule 22 or the cloture rule, and this would require 60 senators. But if you can get 60 senators to agree, you can limit debate to 30 hours, and you can limit the number of amendments so that it's only relevant amendments. But what else does the Senate do? The Senate also has the job of confirming presidential nominees to cabinet positions, ambassadorships, and more. So this would include the chief of staff does not need to be confirmed by the Senate, but members of the cabinet, such as the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Transportation, and Attorney General, and more, they need to be confirmed by the Senate. As do ambassadors. That's like, for example, ambassadors to Indonesia, or ambassador to the United Kingdom, or all the countries. Ambassadors also need to be confirmed by the Senate, and actually Supreme Court justices, and they also need to be approved by the Senate. The Senate needs to confirm them too. And when it comes to treaties, treaties are reported to the Foreign Relations Committees, Foreign Relations Committee, and this considers and reports the bill. And two-thirds of senators must approve a treaty, and that would be 67 senators. So you need 67 senators to approve a treaty. And presidential nominations are sent to the appropriate committee, while hearings are held. And only a simple majority is required to approve a nominee. Uh, a simple majority is required to approve a nominee, but filibustering may occur, and cloture could be invoked. So you only need 51 votes, like with regular bills, to confirm a nominee. But again, filibustering can happen, and you can delay the confirmation. You can just push it out. But cloture can be applied, and for presidential confirmations, it requires a simple majority. So basically, instead of 60 votes required for cloture, it needs 51 votes. This used to be 60 votes as well, but the Republican Party recently made it 51 votes to make the presidential nomination proceedings during the presidency of Donald Trump smoother. Because nowadays it's very difficult for both parties to have 60 senators to get 60 senators to agree to cloture. So 51 senators will make that a lot easier. So the Republican Party did that, so it would be easier for them to get through Trump's nominees. So this was the second segment of my video. We discussed how the House functions and how the Senate functions. And the next segment will look at uh, how the House and the Senate work together to pass a bill, and how they collaborate and how they meet, how they collaborate, and how they work out any differences they may have.